Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So, as the brother kindly introduced me, Zaim, thank you so much. Very, very excited about this panel, and I'm delighted that I have my panelists here. I think one person is we're still waiting for, but inshallah, hopefully she'll join. So, conversations taking place throughout this forum wouldn't be complete without a mention of the role of Muslim women and how they can play a role in the global Islamic economy and in the processes of recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic. Alone, entrepreneurship is fundamental to the health and wealth of a society. It grows economies by accelerating innovation, productivity, and employment. The participation of women in entrepreneurship can have an outsized impact by magnifying and adding to the benefits yielded by entrepreneurship. Accounting for half of the Muslim population worldwide and expected to make up 1/6 of the global population by 2060, Muslim women have a key role to play in building business partnerships, fostering collaboration and boosting trade and investment. Women's role in furthering sustainable development should not be underestimated. Through their unhindered participation in the labour market, inclusive societies are fostered, meeting key sustainable development goals, including Global Goal 5 to achieve gender equality, Goal 8 to promote full and productive employment and decent work for all, Goal 2 on food security, Goal 3 on ensuring health, and Goal 10 on reducing inequalities. Women entrepreneurs are just as likely as male entrepreneurs to innovate, demonstrating their importance in overcoming the challenges that our planet and people are facing from climate change and post-pandemic recovery. So, according to a report by the UN Secretary General's high-level panel on women's economic empowerment, companies with one more women in senior management or in a corporate board is associated with 8 to 13 basic points higher return on assets. There are an estimated 274 million women involved in business startups around the world, along with an additional 139 million women who are owners or managers of established businesses. On the regional level, a complex set of factors combine to form contrasting realities between different geographical contexts. So due to alternative job opportunities and support provided by state welfare systems, for instance, women in Europe have some of the lowest rates of entrepreneurship. And yet, by contrast, the Middle East and North Africa, you see women's, much higher rates of female entrepreneurship by region. Now, I just, I want to really give time to my colleagues who are here, the panelists. We have some amazing women, and I had the honor and pleasure of meeting some of them yesterday. So we're going to start with a young lady called Khairunnisa, Honorable Dayang Khairunnisa Binti Awang Haj Ashari, who's the president of Brunei Youth Council. And I was, just taken aback when I heard that you're doing so much around the green economy. And particularly with the lack of Muslim engagement on environmental issues and the environmental crisis, I think, it's so refreshing to have you, speak to us. Now, Khairunnisa, she's did her master's from King's College London. She did her BA in Public Policy and Administration from the University of Brunei, Dar es Salaam. She's got 10 years experience of working in youth development, welfare, social enterprise, and the environment. She's currently the first female president of the Brunei Youth Council, a national body that oversees youth development and welfare in the country through local, regional, international programs. In addition, she's also the co-founder and community engagement director of Green Brunei. She's formerly a legislative council member from 2017 to 2022, and she also represented the country on various programs, including the International Visitors Leaders Program, Climate Reality Leadership Course, and it just goes on and on. So I'm just absolutely delighted to welcome you, Khairunnisa. You have 10 minutes to give your introductory remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Husna. Is my audio clear before I start? Okay, perfect. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are from. Thank you so much for the very wonderful introduction. I did not expect for you to read my LinkedIn profile, but thank you. I think that gave a bit of an overview about my background and portfolio as well. As mentioned, my name is Khairunnisa Ashari, and I am the president of the Brunei Youth Council. I also run my own social enterprise to tackle environmental issues in the country. Previously, I was a member of parliament, and one of my areas of work was to look at women issues and supporting youth development in the country. Today, I believe I've been invited to speak on the experience of women entrepreneurs in Brunei Darussalam. However, if there is an opportunity during Q&A session, I'll be happy to share a bit of perspective on the environmental areas as well. We are very fortunate that in Brunei, barriers in entrepreneurship is not gender specific. I know the conversations today have been surrounding towards barriers for women, but in Brunei, at least, it's not gender specific, but I will explain a bit more later on. My mom is a businesswoman. She has been in business much longer before I was born. I used to sit in her small shop in an old, dark and gloomy building when I was a child, and now she has expanded her business. Several times, she was sent abroad to promote her products in international exhibitions in Oman, Malaysia, China, and many other countries. She is not highly educated. She had to leave school during the Brunei Revolt when she was only in year 3. She couldn't even speak English. But her business has allowed her to see the world, supported her 7 children, and taught us about being confident in ourselves, and gender should not be a limitation for us. Growing up, I didn't see entrepreneurship journey for women as a challenge. It was an opportunity for women to support their families and make a living. My late father has been instrumental in the journey, always supporting my mother. I remember how he used to sit in the cafe near my mom's shop, waiting for her to be done with the day's business. When she was sent abroad to international exhibitions, my late father will take leave from his job and join my mother. This is the story of my family and many others. Around 65% of MSMEs or micro, small, medium enterprises in Brunei are women-owned. In fact, there are various opportunities for women to get support. We have Darussalam Enterprise, which provides a one-stop center for training and resources for startups, including affordable rent for space. Our local Islamic financial institution also provides support specifically for single mothers. We have several platforms or NGOs, such as the Brunei Womenpreneurs Network, Young Entrepreneurs Association Brunei, which are both led by young people and young women, as well as Brunei Women Business Council, to help the growth of businesses in Brunei. Women and girls in Brunei have full access to opportunities to thrive and participate in building economic livelihoods and independence. The increase in female business leaders underline the country's commitment towards promoting women empowerment and equity in line with the country's economic and social development agenda under Brunei Vision 2035. There is equal access to opportunities and facilities for everyone, regardless of their gender, age, or race. Statistically, women are contributing more to the nation in terms of education as we make up the bigger proportion of graduates. However, it is not always roses. On paper, there is no policy that limits women from venturing into business. In reality, women still face challenges and barriers when it comes to entering male-dominated industries. Harassment for women is a prevalent issue and often not talked about, perhaps to avoid being seen as weak. Another challenge for Brunei is the lack of gender data. Earlier on, what I have shared is my own personal observation based on my own family. But we do not have data to support if our scenario or example is also faced by the majority of businesses in Brunei. The lack of data to monitor discriminatory policies can also be an issue. As Brunei is an Islamic country that is run with Islamic principles, our policies are usually Sharia compliant, but it does not limit individual behaviors or action that can be against Islam. Nevertheless, we do see the growth of young female entrepreneurs, especially in terms of modest fashion, for example. We see a trend among university students or graduates who have ventured into this industry, even more during the pandemic when most businesses have benefited from utilizing an online platform. Women's role in different industries, especially food and beverages, have definitely increased. But there is still limitation for women in established or male-dominated industries, even when there is no specific policies creating the barrier. What I would hope to see is more data supporting gender comparison for us to be able to recognize barriers faced by women. Stronger support towards addressing harassment in the workplace is also needed to ensure a safe space for all individuals to contribute to the economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khairunnisa. Your mother's journey really chimes with myself as well, because I have 6 children, and I've had fantastic support from my family, particularly my husband as well. So it's very interesting to hear you, and Allah bless your mother and give her long life. And so if we can go on to the next speaker, we're still waiting for Honorable Sophia. But in the meantime, if Dr. Eri Trinurini Adhi, if you don't mind.
Salam alaikum. I'm on board. Salam alaikum.
Honorable Sophia, are you comfortable to speak now?
No, skip. Let me speak next.
Okay, so that's fine. So I'd just like to introduce Dr. Eri Trinurini Adhi. She's the chairperson of Asian Solidarity Economic Council, ASEC, and board member of Bina Swadaya Foundation, Indonesia. She has a PhD in agriculture and rural development and MSc also in agriculture and rural development from George Auguste University. And she's at the Institute Pertanian Bogor in the Faculty of Animal Husbandry. Now, Dr. Eri, you've got an amazing experience, more than 25 years experience in social development and a consultant and management and an activist. And you've got so many strengths in the work that you're doing. You've project development, project design, stakeholder engagement. You focused on public advocacy and social solidarity economy. And this is coming up in terms of all the colleagues here today, all the panelists today. I see there's a strong social solidarity economy that's coming through. You also are the chair, I've mentioned you're the chairperson. So I think I just pass it on to you, Dr. Eri, and let you give your 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Husna, for introducing me. That is too much as well, but I'm the common woman. I'm the common mother as you as well, with the 2 children. So again, my name is Eri. I come from Indonesia. I'm here now representing the ASEAN Solidarity Economic Council. This is a hub of the grassroots organizations with the platform of the social solidarity economy. This is an alternative platform of economy which focus on the people as the center of the development. So besides, I'm as well the board member of the social enterprise, the oldest one in Indonesia, that is Bina Swadaya. So very interesting that the 4A thematic, finally, we talk about the women and their impact, the social impact. So that means I appreciate for the organizations, for the event that put as well the women specifically affirmative in one sessions. So we read, I think the moderators or the master ceremony before saying that one of the consultant BCG in 2019 saying that if men and women participate in entrepreneurs equally, then the GDP will increase to 3 to 6%, globally. But I think it seems that this statement would like to saying that the number of the women enterprises is less than a man, or far behind the numbers of the female entrepreneurs. So, but it is depends actually which enterprises does the consultant look at. Yeah, I guess this is more the formal enterprises. That means they have the legal entity in the small and medium scales. But if you see the micro and the small enterprises, the number of the women, I think the previous presenters has as well talked that in Indonesia, for instance, from the whole enterprises, 99.8% are the micro and small entrepreneurs, and 60% of them are women. And what is more impact story is that they contribute to 97% of the workforce in Indonesia. So about the economic, though they are mostly informal, but they contribute to 61% of the GDP. I think this figure to some extent are the same within the ASEAN countries. So we can see that means not only the formal sector, but the informal sector as well give significant contributions to the GDP. But not only this, but actually the informal sector give as well the contributions to more others. That means in providing the job opportunities where the government cannot fill in, cannot bring into all the demand of the job seekers. Yeah. So what is actually make distinguish between the business of the men and women in the informal sector? At the first, we know in generally that the Human Development Index of the female is lower than the man. So we know that's background already. And then in many countries that the men's income is 2 times higher than the women. And in other sides that the informal sector entrepreneurs, mostly the women has less asset or capital than a man. For example, that's just easy example. So like the land title certificate or vehicle certificates are under the name of their husband. So without the support of their husbands, they could not access to the bank and others else. So this is one of the barrier, cultural handicap of the informal women entrepreneurs. Yeah. But however, I found some data or informations from the research from Global Development Center that actually the women have more savings than a man. So they have not only in the bank, but as well they are saving at home with many ways. Yeah, you know that. So that means this is as well a chance that actually that the women has more care for the family by putting a lot of ways how to save for the family. So to my saying that again, the core is we are agreed that the women are giving more impact, not only for the economic, but as well to the social development. So that means we need a certain, but however, that women has as well a certain barrier, as I have explained before. So what I want to say here that actually we need an inclusive ecosystem for the small scale and micro women enterprises. So that means the problem is the many government are make it standard, the same treated for everybody, one policy fit for all. It doesn't work for particularly for women and men, and then for the vulnerable one, and then for the small and medium enterprises. This is I think we have to make customizing the policy as well, that if we want really to reach the poor. Yeah. So this is. And how can we provide the inclusive ecosystem? So that means all stakeholders can participate in. By the government, for instance, they could provide not one policy fit for all, but try to adjust the policy that can reach really the micro enterprises. And then for the private company, they can play a role by putting the inclusive business and then considering the informal sector in all supply chains lineage. And then for the CSO, civil society, or the social enterprises, they can provide the training, mentoring for the women's group. So I think that means the vulnerable groups of the women needs the facilitations to reach the access as well, because they have a lot of handicap to access the provided ecosystem. As well, might be providing with the childcare based services. So this is one of example that can be provided by civil society. What I want to say, that means the ecosystem for the female entrepreneurs, particularly for the micro entrepreneurs, is not only provided by the government, but all the stakeholders. What we need here is collaborations and try to focus, not standardize the enterprises only for the formal sector, but as well thinking about the informal sector. And then how can the policy reach them? Because one of the lessons learned that I observed, a lot of policy cannot reach the informal sector, particularly the women. The women need the specific requirements. We have to learn from the weather. We have seen the birds, they are flying together among the same species, among the same feather. So I think that it goes as well for women. The women will learn faster among the women. So I think this kind of affirmative should be as well considered by all of us who wants to support the female entrepreneurs, particularly for the micro scale one. So I think this is my presentations. I end with this, but surely I will welcome for the Q&A related to my presentations. Thank you, Hannah. I give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eri. That was very insightful and very rich discussion that you've started, and I think we'll unpick some of the things that you brought up in your presentation just now in the interactive discussion in a little while. So thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to invite the next speaker, Miss Noor Nuruyati Nabiwanda from Uganda, and welcome. She holds a Master's of Business Administration from Africa University Mutare under the auspices of the Commonwealth Scholarships Program. And her first degree was in a Bachelor of Arts with Education with a minor in Islamic Studies, attained in June 1992 from the Islamic University in Uganda. So it's interesting that Sister Noor, you started business as a young girl, supporting your mother, and it's interesting that people are mentioning their mother's role in terms of how they have progressed and developed. And you used to help her, and then you joined the Junior Chamber and the Chartered at the Junior Chamber International World Congress in Cannes in France in 1992. In 2010 to 2011, you were nominated the chairperson of the ILO Wedge. And you've received so many awards, and in terms of the work that you're doing now, you're with the Social Fair Organization as well, working with them closely. You're the managing director of the Afro Seed Trading Company, and I'm just really, really excited and so grateful that you were able to join us today. So I would really like to give the floor to yourself now, Ms. Nuruyati.
Thank you, Dr. Husna, and greetings to everyone on the call. I thank the panelists that are joining today and the other members. Okay, today I'm really grateful to join you to discuss social impact. But in terms of my introductory remarks, I want to share with you how I started my business journey. This happened when I was really a young girl. My mom was working and having some stores. Okay, she was in the informal sector, that's what I should say. And she used to sell fruits, food stuff, vegetables, so many things. And I decided to scramble her business. How? I agreed with her that she would do the kilos, sell in the larger quantities, and I wanted to sell in the small quantities. As somebody who was helping her, I thought she was doing a lot of work and taking care of all of us because we are 8 with my siblings. Yes, our father was there, but one of the reasons she had taken up to do business was to supplement the income, the family income. So when I started joining her to support her, I also thought I needed to have some little pocket money for myself. So when I requested her to scramble her business, she accepted. I started doing some small, I used to get threads and then get the kilos of the onions, kilos of garlic, and then make sure that I get small bits of the smaller quantities, and then sell alongside her kilos. So she would have to sell the kilos and then the wholesale. I was also retailing, but in a scrambled manner. I used to do this after school and then during holidays. What would happen was I would sell, but I would not take away the money from her capital. I would use that money. That money would go back and she would use it in her business. What was recorded was between me and her and in our heads. I would only tell her how much was there, how much the margin that I would get. This I was doing with my schoolwork. Then I went into secondary school. So in secondary school, I was now in a boarding school. What would happen is I could not work during school, but only in holidays. And I would make sure that every time I came for holidays, I would tell her, I want to do my business again, and she would willingly accept. Then when I was going back to school, I would agree with her to do my shopping. So I would do my shopping, and then whatever remained, she would continue using it. When I come back, I would tell her, this is how much you have in my savings. But I would leave the money with her. Then when I went for my A-levels, I moved away from the rural district where my mother was working from and came to the city. But because still I still had the business acumen. So I stayed with my uncle and my aunt. My aunt was having a shop, and she was selling clothes. I had a sister who was working in the bank. So what I did was, I asked her if the men there could buy some of the shirts and the ties my aunt was selling. She said it's possible. So again, I started that business. But this time, I would only do it in holidays because I was still in a boarding school. Then moved into university. When I moved into university, that is the Islamic University in Uganda, my aunt did a lot of shopping for me because I'd been selling her stuff. And this time I was not taking I would just take a little difference. But most of it was that I was contributing a lot to her sales. So she did a lot of shopping for me. And when I went to university, my friends asked me where I had shopped my clothes from. I told them, oh, my auntie did this for me, but I know the place where she purchased like items from. They started asking me to order for them. My auntie just said, you can start your own business. So she introduced me to the lady, and this lady offered to give me not to give me capital in form of money, but in form of clothes. So she would loan me the clothes. I would go with them to the university and then sell them to colleagues. When they got finished, and there were other people who wanted, because at the university were getting what we call boom or cash. So I depended so much on social capital and then the trust was, but this I learned from my mom. One, my mom was a Muslim, not so much with the Islamic training, but she wanted to keep the hijab because one of the reasons in our culture usually the women, and which is also Islamic, is that women were expected to be inside and then the men out. So when she started business, my father, it took a lot of time for him to accept, to allow her work. In fact, she started through friends and then also sending men. Then later, she started on her own because she thought it was not sustainable. She needed it to be in the business, but she kept her hijab. Every time she would cover herself, not so well like how I'm covered today, but her scarf would be on her head. And then on Friday, she would make sure she goes for prayers. Even us, when we were helping her, she would make sure we all go for prayers, unless we are not going to pray. That's when you would stay behind and on the store with her, on the store without her, but then at least she used to keep that distance. So what I did was, as I was growing up, I also learned the same. I kept on keeping my distance. Then also she kept on not borrowing from banks. I didn't know why she was not borrowing, but I know that her capital came from friends, and then later, out of her trustworthiness, people started leaving her, whatever, the stuff she was selling. Somebody would bring kilos of jinga, and they would leave the sacks there, and would tell her, we'll be coming back on this date. At that time, we didn't have mobile money or online transactions, so no, you couldn't send somebody money. It's only when they came back, but they would find their money, and she would make sure that at least she built on that social capital, that trustworthy. So when I started also my business, I would make sure that at least when I'm loaned, I would only use what is for me and then take back what is not mine to the providers. Then after my training in the Islamic University, I started doing research. This is how I fell into love with the Chamber of Commerce. So at that time, they were doing cross-border business, research, the revival of the ESC. But one of the major area was the cross-border, because there was a lot of business around the border that was not taken care of, and it was unaccounted for.
So no, you need
So I
to
joined
end.
the team at the
Sister
Chamber
Noor,
of
you need
Commerce.
to end soon.
Yes.
Sister Noor, you don't have much time.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, so when I joined the Chamber of Commerce, I learned a lot of things, but I also got the scholarship to go and do my MBA. After my MBA, I came back. I joined the government and worked. But as I was working, still I wanted to do business. And as I wanted to do business, I kept on identifying areas that could lead me to that area. So I did an online course. And when my bosses realized I was interested in business and then women issues, I was asked to chair the Women Entrepreneurship Development Project. This opened my eyes. Yeah, and it added part of what I did for my MBA, because during my MBA, I did financing women enterprises and realized the challenges that women go through. This was in a different country. By the time, is in Zimbabwe. But I realized the challenges that women go through. That's when I learned why my mom was not really borrowing from the bank. I did a project where the women had a loan and they were performing very well, but they could not bring in more women to borrow. They were asking them to bring their husbands with them. Then when I came in Uganda and I was now at the head of the ILO wage program, the women could tell you the barriers they were facing. And I was like, how can I help these women? So I kept on helping them access market, but financing was really very difficult. When they would have these many orders, they would tell you, we've got these orders, but access to finance is a problem. Then also, some in the rural areas, they would complain about producing, and then the husbands were the ones taking the material, the products to the market. So I thought I should be part of this story. So in 2016, when I went to Haji, one of my friends asked me if we could start business together. And I told her, why not? And I think if I started this business, get some money, maybe I can loan out to the women, but I could also know the barriers they're going through and contribute to the policy development of this country. And this is where I am now. We started our company in 2016, supporting women, the women who are in the garden, who are in the rural areas. We would support them with the equipment, support them to have quality products, and ensure that at least when their products are out, we are the first to buy from them, or on call, because they would tell the husbands, these people loaned us, so we have to take back the what? We have to first give them the products. So before the man runs to the market to sell their products, we are there, and then we buy the products, give them their difference. We take our loan and give them their difference. And this has created a lot of trust between us, but also a lot of development, a lot of social impact for the women that we deal with. However, recently with COVID, it's not working so well with us anymore, because with COVID, a lot of businesses went down. Ours also being a trading company didn't survive, and we are just reviving. But what has come up for us is now to establish the social welfare organization and also a Muslim women and youth trust fund, because we realize that when these women do business, sometimes they're not able to save. So we want to bring in other innovative ways to help them at least have savings, because those who didn't have savings during COVID, they became so vulnerable, and most of them lost out. And we're looking for ways of how to support them. And what I would be interested in for this discourse and the discussion, because the previous speaker is a doctor and she was talking about statistics. For us here, statistics are really a challenge. Getting data on the Muslim women is really a challenge. And one of the reasons we want that Muslim Trust Fund and the youth, for us to understand, because during COVID, when you would open or put on your TV, one of the challenges you would see is women, the young girls that got pregnant, most of them were from the
if you don't mind, Noor, if you don't mind, I want to give the other speakers a chance, because we've only got half an hour. Your discussion was, it's very moving. I mean, in terms of the sacrifices that your family, yourself, have taken in terms of building up. You touched upon some key points that we want to discuss, in the open discussion in a couple of minutes. But if you don't mind, I'd like to pass on to the other two speakers, give them an opportunity. Is that okay?
That's very okay.
Thank you so much.
I know when you start talking, I don't stop. Thank you.
No, it's very, very interesting. But because of time, I can listen to you all day, but because of time, I really need to go on to the next speakers. So I'm absolutely delighted to actually invite a dear friend of mine who I haven't seen in a couple of years. I think last time we met Honorable Sophia was in Vancouver at the Women Deliver conference. She is a powerhouse, member of parliament in Kenya, has a BA in development studies at Arusha, Tanzania, and a master in executive management from USIU. Honorable Sophia Abdi Noor, I met you through your activities as a chair of Womenkind, but you do so much more. I remember the time when there was the attack at a college, and Womenkind's offices were right next to that. There was a terrorist attack, and the way yourself and your colleagues, supported and helped all the children to come to your premises and took care of them. You've done so much. I mean, I think I'm going to pass it on to you and let you talk about the issues that you need to highlight with us today, please. Honorable Sophia. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, my sister, Dr. Husna, and your family, my great friends and my great family members and my friends. May God, Allah bless you. And I want to pass my greetings to everyone who is participating in this noble meeting that we're having today. First, I want to introduce myself. My name's Sophia Abdi Noor, and I'm a mother of 3, a grandmother of 5, And I feel very honored today to be among the people who are participating and sharing some of the issues, particularly on the economic empowerment of women. That is a passionate subject to me. And as you know, women, just like any other person who has contributed, women contribute the highest percentage at the lower level of economical activities. They form 70% of the labor in agriculture sector, and care and home care sector is purely for women. The sector where women are involved are among the least paid sectors. And through regulation, state must recognize the existence and the contribution of women and organization by creating a friendly legal and regulation framework and environment that enables such actors like non-profit making organization or non-state actors as such operate smoothly within the sector. The laws and the regulation can also be geared towards promoting women economical empowerment through affirmative action. For instance, the laws can stipulate all the employment must have certain gender balance threshold. Like in our constitution, that I'm one of the framers of my constitution, proudly be one of the people who was part of the constitution making in this country. We have affirmative action in our constitution. We also have identified the minority communities within this country. And in terms of law, we also have a threshold of women participating both politically, economically, and in the social spheres. Politically, women have some quota that they are supposed to reach so that that institution can be legally and accepted. Then in economic empowerment, there is programs where 1/3 is given to the women and economical empowerment programs. They do business. They are supposed to do business with the government. Luckily, we have two tiers of government in our country. We have the lower government, that is county governments, and the national governments. In both governments, they are supposed to give work to women. But unfortunately, we also have funds that's supposed to legally, that has been established by the government to empower women. And the current government has also introduced what is called Hustlers Fund. And the Hustlers Fund also, they have created a whole ministry to manage that fund, to empower women economically. But what happens is, all this money that I'm talking about and all these laws I'm talking about is a global laws that cannot address the needs of the Muslim woman, that cannot specifically target the women, the Muslim woman. Because the Muslim woman, all this money that I'm talking about, the Women Fund, which is national, the Hustlers Fund, which will be open, all these have got interest. And it has been our responsibility as the Muslim leadership in this country to lobby, to strategize, and to engage with the government of the day, so that we wanted to get resources that women can borrow, which is an interest-free money, so that they can economically empower themselves. That is where we are, and that's how we are lobbying very hard. One of our major challenges facing us when considering how to boost women economical empowerment is lack of solid, reliable, and timely data. We do not have any data concerning. Then the other thing is, such state, the state now can collaborate with non-actors, so that they are able now to engage properly. The non-actors in this country have, in their small way, have empowered women, have given resources. Even them, the people who are supporting them and giving them these resources, because it is a merry-go-round resources, and merry-go-round resources must have some administrative cost on it. Those administrative costs now gives a problem to the women. So there is a place called Garissa Lodge. I am sure my sister, Dr. Husna, understands. Garissa Lodge, the women came together with a small money. They have formed what is called groups. Then what they do usually is they do a lot. The money they go to either China or India. They buy a lot of stuff. They bring and they distribute amongst themselves, and they go and sell. And now that is becoming a study point where we are studying how these women, who are very few and who have done marvelous in terms of empowering themselves, in terms of engaging. So, and when we go to my second question, which is, yes?
Sorry, Honorable Sophia, 1 more minute.
Yes.
You have 1 more minute.
1 more minute, I've just started.
We'll carry on after Sister Alia comes in,
Okay.
intervention, then we'll open up the discussion.
Then the human rights are universal, and every individual ought to have freedom to enjoy. However, human rights violation is a common issue in this country, and it is a major impact on the economical empowerment of women. Kenya being a patriarchal society, men control the major resources and the sectors, and enjoyment of certain rights in women is not granted. Women enterprise is undermined by lack of reference skills, knowledge, lack of financial resources. And however, our constitution has given us, to address some of these issues, Kenya has a progressive constitution that has captured in the Bill of Rights as a cornerstone in its national building. It has also proposed quota for women representation, which I've already said. The other thing is the difference between countries. Different countries are at a different stage in the agenda of women economical empowerment. We will therefore need to carry out an in-depth analysis on each country. In this study, we will need to look into legal, political, and socio-economical infrastructure of the country. Looking into enabling factors that inhibits economical empowerment, the study will guide it on legal reforms such as needed political goodwill that it requires to enhance women enterprise. On the socio-economical front, we will need to look at the skill development, market linkage, financial support, among others. So I can contribute, I can talk later. Thank you so much, Dr. Husna. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sophia. I'm really sorry to have cut you like that, but I just really want to make sure that all of our speakers, we give them the due respect and let them have the opportunity to speak, and then we'll have opportunities in a few minutes. With that, I want to invite our final speaker, who I met recently in Bangkok, at the UN GSSD. Expo, and you're also one of the organizers. Your organization ICCI is also one of the organizers of this Global Muslim Business Forum, as is Global One. So Alia Jafar is an ardent believer of the private sector as the most important partner for resilient and sustainable economies. Honorable Sophia, if you can put your sound on mute, please. She brings 24 years of global experience in leadership positions from across multiple sectors, specializing in building valuable brands and companies. What I feel is particularly important that I want to mention is that she started Mom Professionals as a social support group for working women, and she's now the Director of International Relations at the Islamic Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture, which is an affiliated institution of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. So without fail, I'd like to now invite Alia, if you could please take the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Husna. Is my audio okay? Okay, great. Thank you for that introduction, and it's such an honor to be part of this really amazing panel of speakers. So thank you. I closely listened to the speakers who shared, their recommendations and their challenges. And I had actually, very similar points to also sort of contribute in terms of pay gap and, more facilities with reference to childcare, so get more. But I actually would like to use
Alia, we keep losing you. If you can keep the mic close to you, we keep losing you. So if you don't mind. And if anyone has questions, if they can put them in the chat box, because after Alia, we'll start the question and answer, please. Alia, please, if you couldn't, yeah.
Okay, is this better? Can you, okay, great. So the thing which I would like to spend my time on is talking about the raising of the next generation. So almost all speakers talked about and drew from, what they learned from their mothers. Even in my case, I believe that the reason why I've been very active throughout my career, I started 2 businesses of my own. One of them I successfully exited out of, was because I had a really good role model in terms of my mother, who throughout her life worked. So we need to, as mothers, inculcate certain values within our girls. So number one, I believe that when we're raising our children, we need to talk to them about being brave. It's for women entrepreneurship, in my experience, I did not have an issue with access to finance. So I was able to raise funds for my business. I was able to grow that business. I was able to exit out of it very successfully. But where I thought we need to invest more time and energy is building social capital, because we are only limited by our mindset, by what we believe we can achieve. As most of you may know of this thing called an imposter syndrome, which is a very well established concept where women believe that they have reached successful places not out of their merit, but because they were lucky. So Mumfessionals, the reason I started that was to highlight women who've gone through the journey, who are right now heading businesses, leading departments, and especially in the life cycle of a woman where she starts working and then she gets married and then she has children. And after the children come, most, particularly in Pakistan, but I believe this is true across the board, most women leave because you can't leave your children unattended, obviously. So that's why there is a gap in the pipeline, within the entrepreneurs as well as the corporates. So we need to pay more attention to developing that social capital. In the recent past, we've on the Islamic Chamber of Commerce platform have launched this program called the Best of Entrepreneurship. And we've covered sectors such as impact-led businesses, fintech, microfinance, and e-commerce so far. So the women entrepreneurs who shared their journeys, all of them had one specific advice for the women who were in the audience, which is you leave the gender at home. This is another area which I believe needs to be given as much visibility as possible, that when you go out to work, when you go out to, start your business, raise funds for it, grow it, market it, you need to leave the gender at home. Because in my experience, I did not have those challenges because I was a woman. Those challenges were actually there based on my own mindset. Then one thing that I would like to talk about is how business leaders can best advocate young female entrepreneurs. So my background, I started off with a multinational, a 200-year-old multinational, where they had very good, strong policies that allowed me and gave me the room to grow. One of the opportunities that I got was to start a women group within the organization, which was facilitated by the company and gave me the support and the base to then bring in other 4 top multinationals of Pakistan to create a platform where women could meet. So when business leaders, when they put certain policies and sort of facilities for women, that is really how they can best advocate for female entrepreneurs. Another area where they should look at is creating opportunities. So a lot of the organizations globally are now adding more women entrepreneurs to their supply chain. So they're actually developing them. There's capacity building, there's access to finance, because what they've realized is that within the supply chain, most of the businesses are male-led. This is an example, a very good example of creating space which can support, incentivize, and develop women entrepreneurship. And all these actions that they take must be advocated to give best practices and examples of how to get more women on board, particularly the financial impact of bringing these women on board. As a lot of the speakers have right now shared about the economic impact of women participating, I believe Miss Ari shared that if there is a woman on the board, the rate of return on possible investments and work increases multiple times. So they need to advocate all of these very clearly and quantify that. And lastly, I will just end with this, that, happy mothers raise happy children and happy families. And really that is the fabric of our society. Financial independence and economic empowerment give women a very productive and satisfying sort of feeling. It's related to their mental well-being also, I believe. When they are not contributing in a productive manner, then that gives there's a void, which then is translated in how they are with the family, with their children, and the children learn from all of that. So I think I can pause over here and contribute maybe more to this interactive session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alia. I like what you're saying, happy mothers mean happy children. I think one of the things that's coming out in the discussions is from all of you that I feel is emotional intelligence. I think women have a much stronger emotional intelligence than men. And, I'm really grateful for all of your contributions. I'd like to open up the floor now. I don't think we have any questions in the chat. We have asked for people if they've got any questions. Okay, we don't seem to have any. So I've got some questions that I'd like to just throw to the panel, if I may. And that is, if we can start with Khairunnisa, what role are young women playing in pushing for their right to entrepreneurship today, and what's changing, if anything? And do you feel that how can business leaders best advocate for young female entrepreneurs? You have 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Husna. Very interesting question. Personally, I've been very, very fortunate to work alongside a lot of strong women in the community, and these are the women who have been advocating for women's rights to be very actively involved. some of the examples that I can share is the Young Entrepreneurs Association Brunei, which is a non-governmental organization dedicated to promoting the improvements and increase in participation of female entrepreneurs, not just female entrepreneurs, but young entrepreneurs in general, which happens to be run by women. So I can see that I think this is back to women supporting women, which is very, very strong in Brunei's community. So another example that I can share is also besides business organizations, a lot of non-governmental organizations, volunteer organizations, most of them are led by women, and a lot of the members are also women. So we see the strong support when it comes to community effort, community engagement. It's very female-led in this country. So that is, I would say, a trend in Brunei that is very, very encouraging. However, I also must acknowledge that there is still limitation or barrier in terms of women holding leadership positions, for example. So there is still that cultural barrier that does not recognize women as having equal role in the community as a leader. So when it comes to advocating for policies, when it comes to volunteering, when it comes to community effort, we see a lot of women, but when it comes to holding top positions in the country, we still see that space is mainly for male candidates. So that would be a challenge that we still see in Brunei.
Thank you so much, Khairunnisa. What's interesting is on our panel today, we have some of the panelists like yourself, Khairunnisa, are from Muslim majority countries like Brunei, Indonesia, Pakistan. And then we have Honorable Sophia and Noor from minority countries. So, I'm also from the UK. So, my experience has been, in terms of discrimination, in terms of Islamophobia. And my sense is, for instance, in India, you have the largest number of Muslim entrepreneur women. And I feel that one of the reasons why they've gone down the entrepreneur route is because of the discrimination in the employment sector and, being unable to engage. So, Dr. Eri, I'd like to bring you in here and for you just to tell us a little bit about how we can support the informal economy and what mechanisms do you believe are needed to protect women in the informal economy, and also your sense of the division between discrimination as a Muslim or because you're in a Muslim majority country, but discrimination as a women specific, as Khairunnisa was mentioning, in terms of the leadership positions. So I've thrown quite a bit at you, but
okay,
respond to some. Again, 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Husna. You always can give a very interesting questions. Okay, regarding how can we support the informal women entrepreneurs, I think we know that the term social enterprises or social solidarity economy enterprises, which not only based on the capital, but based as well on the social capital, and it has like the specific principles in running the business with the ethical and the democratic economy and so on. In many social enterprises, they will play an important role as a catalyst or bridging the informal sector to the formal sector. So that means because the informal sectors cannot dealing with the enterprises. So the social enterprises in the middle are plays an important role. This is as well what I say is my experience under my own my foundations, Bina Swadaya, playing this role. So I think if the government can support the existing or the development of social enterprises, it is mean that we help as well to bridging the informal sector to the formal sectors. This is one of the strategy. How can we bridge the informal to formal sectors? And then you are talking about discriminations. In the by law, there is no discriminations in Indonesia regarding the female and male entrepreneurs. Yeah, but however, as many presenters as well said, in fact, this is more cultural barrier. Yeah, this is more cultural. As you know, if there is like a heterogen community, then the women will get less access access than the men, because the leaderships, because the organizations mostly lead by the male and so on. Therefore, but however, we should as well encourage the women capacity building. How? So that from my experience and my experience itself, that means what I talked previously, that women learn faster among the women. So we have to make like an inclusive capacity building for women to accelerate, to booster the capacity in order to build their self-confidence in facing the heterogeneity in the access of the ecosystem. So this is I try to answer your questions, Husna. Thank you.
That was excellent. Thank you so much. Now, if I can pass on to Alia. Alia, you've heard both Dr. Eri and Khairunnisa talk about the fact that you've got, in the law, in the policies and things, they're all positive towards women, but in reality, you do have that discrimination, and there are barriers. So, you as a Pakistani woman, what do you feel the role of women are playing in pushing for their right to entrepreneurship today, and what is your sense of the Muslim women's appetite for change today? Thank you. 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Dr. Husna. So I believe that you're absolutely right. The policies are all there. In fact, just last night, I was at a dinner and two of my friends, both entrepreneurs, I actually posed this question to prepare for today. The thing is that we need to engage more the media, more to publicize all the work that's being done at this point in time for women, financial inclusion, for the products and services, capacity building programs that are being offered by NGOs, by government platforms, everyone, because like the Best of Entrepreneurship series that I talked about, the last one that we had invited the Trade Development Authority of Pakistan to talk about how they are supporting the e-commerce development in Pakistan. And, they have some fantastic programs free of cost that are available for all. And none of us, including the speakers who are from the e-commerce sector, as well as the other participants, and we had about 350 people, knew about these programs that are there. So I think that one of the things that's needed is more awareness, so that women, because right now the women are getting more opportunity and spaces to participate, to start their businesses. With the increase and the rise of digital, particularly digital media, they can launch a business through a Facebook page or an Instagram page and have pictures that they take from their mobile phones and put them up for sales. And there's a whole lot of resources that are available online. So in terms of the younger women, they are really geared and prepared, at least what I see in Pakistan, to become the entrepreneurs, because they also want more flexibility, which unfortunately right now they don't have. So they're creating these opportunities for themselves. So if there was more participation from the media to share maybe programming that creates that awareness, I think it would be fantastic.
Thank you so much. Zaim is saying that we need to wrap up fairly shortly. So if I can ask Honorable Sophia, if you can just tell us in terms of the question that I was asking around, you're in a minority as a Muslim in Kenya, and you've mentioned the difficulties for Muslim women in terms of interest, access to interest. Do you have any final points to make in 1 minute, please?
Thank you so much, Sister Husna. And as I told you, we have a lot of engagement at different level. It is true the women are marginalized in Kenya, particularly the Muslim women, because they are not in the mainstream of empowerment programs that is taking place in our country. And because of religion, they decided not to involve themselves in resources that are available currently. So there are the ulumas who are spearheading the women themselves have organized themselves. The organization, non-profit making organization in this country have organized themselves and are lobbying, and the leadership and parliamentarians are also engaging at different levels. And I think very soon we might get a breakthrough, but there is a lot that needs to be given to women, particularly education and exposure, skill trainings, and helping them to demand for their right. So for me, it is important for us to do a lot with our constituents, that is the Muslim community in Kenya, and so that they will be among the beneficiaries of the resources that are earmarked. Then the other thing is to ask the government to implement the constitution to the letter, particularly on the affirmative action platform and the Bill of Rights. So that is what we are trying to engage with the government, so that we will be able to see how best to address the gaps that we already have in this country. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Honorable Sophia. And my final speaker, Sister Nuluyati, Sister Noor, if you could just give, what is your one message that you would give to young businesswomen in your country and globally? Thank you. Just 1 minute. Can you please unmute? You need to unmute.
Sorry. Okay, the one word, but can't be one word. Anyway, the one message that I would really want to give to Muslim women is that, one, when you get into business, get focused. Get focused, because one, the Quran is very much hid on business, right from our mother, Khadija, radiallahu anha. She was a businessman, a woman, but she worked with men. So when you're working, make sure that at least you are focused. Some people fear working with men because of the relationship and then the gender issues that may happen. But at least if you're focused, make sure that at least you can keep your hijab, take a lot of information from them, and then base a lot on social capital. Social capital is very important for us as the Muslim women. We meet in mosques. Let's learn from each other, look for innovative ideas, and also influence policy. That's what I would really think. Don't hide behind the hijab and behind the house. You can do a lot of things, like one of the panelists said. You can do it from within your house, but some countries, like for us in Africa, the digitalization hasn't really taken the root as in the developed countries. So what we need is at least we can work together. If I have something, share it with a colleague, and then go out and market. Don't look at yourselves as competitors, but look at yourselves as people who can synergy together, who can bring a lot of innovation in what you are doing. And then once you continue sharing, you end up getting the impact that you really want, or that you want to cause as a big force. We are really many, and like they've mentioned, we are mothers, but we are also friends, and we do a lot of things together. We are always eating together, we are always cooking together. As you are cooking, let your friend know about the business that is booming.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank all of the panelists, Dr. Eri, Honorable Sophia, Alia, Khairunnisa, and Nuluyati. It's just been a very rich discussion, and I wish we had more time. And I'm sorry that I've cut you at certain times, each of you. But really, really grateful for your insight and input. And hopefully we can get some recommendations coming out from the forum afterwards. I just want to end with the Global Enterprise Monitor, which has put forward 3 recommendations for furthering entrepreneurship amongst women across the world. And that is by focusing on support for women's high growth business activity, encouraging women investors, such as through impact and women focused investing, and supporting women business owners in male dominated sectors, and developing policy that directly supports women business owners. So I just want to end with that. And I think, a lot more came out from this discussion, but I think we really do need to end here because the next session is going to start. Thank you so much again, ladies. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And thank you all the delegates who have joined and participated on Zoom. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.